All right, awesome artists. So now I'm back and we're going to carefully take out our clay out of the bag here. So these kind of bled out a little bit. I can always get my, they are a little damp from being in the bag, but later I can always get my marker and retrace my designs there. They did kind of bleed a little bit on these ones, but that's okay. These are just my extra slabs here. So I'm going to carefully take them out one at a time here. I'm not going to try and rush and get them all out at once. So we're going to carefully pull these out, and now I'm going to take out the sides of mine. Okay, there we are. I'm sit out here. Carefully take out the sides of this one. Let it sit there. All right, we'll get the next one here. Carefully taking it out a little bit at a time. There we are. Okay, and carefully get this out. Carefully get that out. So mine all came out here, and now I can start kind of putting together my slabs. If anything needs smoothed out, you can always just dip your clay smoother here, or bean tool. All right, and I've also retraced on here a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and do that on here. Make sure it lines up with that curve that I did previously. And just kind of push that down. There we go. And now I can see that a little bit better and lift it up there. And I can do the same thing with this design here. That was a little harder to see. And push it down. Just give it one more back rub there. Okay, then I can see that at least a little bit better for when I'm adding in designs on the sides. So before I start putting together here, I am actually going to start carving away a little bit on the sides of mine. I want these pieces to carve in, and especially since I want them to be all the same, I am going to go ahead and kind of do them all at once, especially since some of them were a little bit more difficult to see. All right, so I'll kind of start with this top one here, and I'm going to start by carving away a little bit. And I'll take some of that little, I like to call them clay boogers. They're just little excess pieces of clay, and I can stick them onto a bigger piece of clay, so that way they don't dry out and become a problem. I'm going to dip my pencil here, clay pencil, in water. Go ahead and go like that. I'm going to kind of do the same thing on each side now as I'm carving away here. And I can kind of dip this in the water to just kind of help smooth out any little clay boogers that I get on there. Okay, so I'm just going to carve away some of my designs before I get them up and scored and slipped together, so that way it'll be easier to do this now and not later, so we can work smarter and not harder. Okay, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit on here, and we'll catch you guys in just a sec. All right, so I've got those carved away. And now I can do a little bit on here. I don't really have much to do for the base except to make sure to put my name on it. So I'm gonna put Mrs. Walt, or my name, and our class code, okay, whichever class code you have. And now I'm also just gonna do a little bit of that carving on here. If I want a little bit of a deeper carve, I can use some of these tools too. These tools have a lot of different edges in them, okay? So I can kind of come around like that and push a little bit harder to get a little bit of a deeper cutaway here. I don't want to do too much for the front. Here I am dipping my tool in the water to kind of let it not get stuck as it goes along the clay. There we go. And I think I'll do one more. Well, I end up probably doing 2 more carves here as I carve away the tool, or the clay, with my clay tool. All right, there we go. And do another one over here. So this looks a little different than that, but I'm using a different tool. So you can kind of see which tool you're going to want to use for yours, okay? As you get older, there are metal tools out there that you can also use too. There we go, and smooth that out. Might jump in here with the clay pencil, just go like that. So I have a little bit more there. Okay, So that's looking good. And now that I've carved away some of the details that I want carved away, I can start scoring and slipping my clay together. So slip is like the glue of clay, and it's clay that has more water in it. It's more slippy, okay? And when we score, you're making score marks in the clay, and that watery clay, that slip, and the score marks hold it together. And so we're gonna go ahead, now that I've got things carved away that I want, I'm gonna start scoring and slipping the edges. So here's my base, of course, it's the bottom. Okay, make sure my top and base kind of look pretty good. Nothing happened while it was sitting in the bag. Okay, carefully take it off. I wouldn't want to do that if there was water, because then it'd be stuck. And so I'm first gonna jump in here and add in some score marks. You can use our clay toothbrushes as well to kind of do that. These work too. And so I'm going to score one way and then kind of the other here until I see the score marks. I'm going to add a little bit of slip as well from that slip jar that I had. I can also use the clay toothbrush too. Okay, kind of like that. And now I'm going to score and slip on both sides. So I'm going to score and slip on this side as well. I'm not putting this at the side, I'm putting this on top. Okay, if I do it on the side, then it's going to be a little wider. You know, if it ends up for your design working better to do that, you are going to have a seam on the base that you're going to need to smooth together. So just FYI, for your information. Okay, my clay isn't exactly leather hard yet. Your clay might be because it's sat a little longer. And so that's an ideal time to start your slab work. Right now, this will still work for me. I'm just gonna have to give it some extra support. So right now I'm smoothing out the side here. I'm gonna carefully, you shouldn't lift it up, but I'm gonna carefully lift it up so you can see. I'm gonna get rid of that seam. So I'm gonna go ahead and I can take my smoothing tool here, dip it in the water, and just smooth that up a bit, okay? I can also take my friendly little bean tool with a little bit of slip and just kind of smooth that up. I may have to go over some of my designs again. That's all right. I'm not too worried. Now on the inside, I want to add a coil of clay to really make sure that my seams stay. I want to blend all my seams. So that's going to be important, to blend the seams together. And so I'm just scoring and slipping here like that. And I'm going to let that kind of trail onto it. And now I'm going to smooth that together. I can dip my finger in the water a little bit, and I don't want to see any of the seams. So I'm going to jump in here again with my smoothing tool and just kind of get this seam all straightened out. All right, there we go. All right, and there we are. Okay, smooth the edge here. Okay, and I'm gonna jump here till I can't see my seams. I can also take this sponge, kind of sponge it together like that. So that's looking pretty good. I'm just coming along the edge on the outside as well. So now I've got one wall down here and I can't see any seam on the inside. Okay, right here I can smooth that a little bit more. And now I can start my next one here. Okay, I'll make sure that I wanted this to go up, so I want that to go up here too. And I'm gonna score and slip. Now I have two seams. I have this and the base to work on. So now I'm gonna lift this out. I'm gonna grab the toothbrush or my score and slip tool, and we're gonna score and slip, score and slip. I use a little bit of this too. I think I'll just give it a better, has a little more of the score marks on there for me. And then I almost forgot to do this side. And you score and slip both places of what you're attaching. If you don't score and slip both places, it will fall apart in the kiln, it will crack. Okay, you wanna have some nice scoring and slipping to keep your clay happy. All right, it wants to stay together. There we go. And once again, I'm gonna smooth along the outside a bit. I think just to keep the structural soundness of this, I'm gonna actually get my coil in on the inside first. And I'm gonna roll out this coil of clay. There we go. Add a little water there if it's cracking. Okay, now I'm gonna score and slip. Score and slip. Now I'm gonna add that there kind of pull it out. Okay, now I'm just gonna dip my finger in the water. Start by doing it like this. Looking good. Smooth that edge on the outside too. I can take my clay smoothing tool and get that. This is really slippy. I'm gonna use that. And there we go. I'm gonna smooth out that side. If one particular smoothing tool isn't working well for you, get a different one. Okay, wash yours off in the sink and go try one of our other ones. Okay, you don't have to struggle with what you're using if it's not working. All right, and there we go. And before I do anything on the outside, I want to also get a nice little coil in the corner crease here. Okay, so I want to get right in that corner seam. Okay, and even it up real nice and neat. So I'm rolling out my coil. Okay, I'm gonna do this one a little thinner because I don't want too much clay there. And I'm gonna go ahead and jump in and score and slip and score and slip. You get the idea. Lots of scoring and slipping, right? If you don't score and slip, it will fall apart. Okay, friends didn't believe me one time, and then they're like, my piece. And I'm like, well, you score and slip, and they're like, no. I'm like, well, there you go. You know, that's what happens. And so I want this to keep its form. And so if it's not yet more leather hard, it's more in the wet stage. I'm just using my fingernail here because it's working. And so I'm carefully always supporting my clay. I'm always giving it support, you know, just like you want to support each other. Support your clay. It'll appreciate it, friends. And so I'm coming up here, gonna dip my finger in the water, just kind of smooth that along. Smooth that along. Ooh, yeah. Looking good. Looking good. Okay. Now I can kind of, now that these have a way to hold each other up, you can see I can now take a look at the outside and see I have some work to do. Okay, I'm probably even gonna bend down a little bit like that. I'm bending down, you don't know that, but I do. And so then I can see the seams better. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that here. I'm gonna add my other thin coil of clay, waste not, here. And I won't need more, I'll use what I got. And I might need a little extra too, but we'll start with that. I'm gonna dip my clay tool in the water and grab a little slip as well. And now I'm going to smooth that seam. Yeah, there we go. Okay, smoothing it up, smoothing it up. And I'm just gonna kind of look how it, see how it looks. And like I said, I might have to add some of my carving designs back in, which is fine. I'm not worried about that. I think it was a, you know, calculated risk, and that's okay. At least I will know where all my designs go. Okay, and so if I want this edge just a little more pointed, I'm just gonna kind of gradually get the clay to do what I want it to do. You never force the clay. It's like us. It's kind of stubborn clay, you know? You gotta give it time to adjust. So I'm slowly kind of getting it to do what I want it to do, okay? Slowly but surely getting it there. Then I'm just gonna see, sometimes you might need to add a little coil on the outside. I think I will wanna add a little coil here because of my smoothing in. It's made an indentation, and I don't really want that. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a little more clay here. If you need more clay, you just raise that hand and, you know what, ask. And then we can get you more clay, or you can go to the extra clay bag if we have it out. Okay, remember 5 minutes before cleanup, we put away the clay. So if there's none out, then, you know, it's that time. So there we go. I'm rolling out one more coil here to fill in that area. I don't want it too thick, because I'm gonna end up with the opposite problem. There's gonna be too much clay down there. So dip, score and slip, score and slip. If I wanna use a little bit of that, I can. Then I can just smooth this together, okay? And now I can smooth that together. There, now I'm not gonna have that weird indentation as much there. When it gets more leather hard, this is not leather hard, this is still pretty damp, I can flip it over and kind of really smooth that side out. But I'm not doing that right now, because it would be a problem. Patience. Clay will teach you patience. All right, just a second. I'm gonna go grab another clay tool. So like I said, if clay tool isn't working for you, go get a different one, okay? So I like this edge too, and I'm just gonna use that edge. Yeah, that's right. Clean that side up. That was nice, that was nice. Okay, so like I said, don't be frustrated with the tool you have if it's not working. Go get a different one. Now I can smooth up this little indentation better. All right, so I'll show it to you again here in just a second. So I used that. Now I'm gonna put that out. Where's my little clay booger? Oh, I must have used it. There, making another one. Okay, and there we go. So now you're gonna see less of that interesting indentation. Okay, see, take a look at that. Looking much better. Okay, and then I'll carve more into it as well later. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing on that side, and I'm gonna put together this. Now you'll notice I have excess clay. Like I said, it's always easier to cut more and then take extra off. So I'll show you that once I get everything scored and slipped. All right, we'll catch you here in just a sec. Okay, so I got that part kind of scored and slipped. Before I start blending my seams and all that fun jazz, I'm gonna go ahead and take this tool that seems more like a knife, and I'm just gonna go ahead and cut off some of this excess. Nice and calm, all like, you know. And then I'm gonna kind of make a mark here. I'm actually gonna take this off for the moment and just test out, see my mark. And I know I've carved on it, so I'll have to adjust my carvings too. Okay with that, okay? And then I can go over, and that's looking pretty good, but I wanna take a little off of this side too. So it's already scored and slipped, so there's no way I'm taking that friend off. Okay, there we go. Pull that off. I'm not worried about leaving too much of that down there. Okay, cool. Okay, that's looking better now. Now I can start adding in my coil of clay on the inside, and then I'll move to the outside. All right, I'll catch you guys here. I'm gonna reuse this clay. Coil time. So going back and forth, of course, you guys have coils. We'll go back and forth, and I'm gonna score and slip and get my coil on the inside too. All right, I'll catch you here in just a sec. All right, so that's looking pretty cool. I'm not gonna lift it up because it's still a little too damp, but I did want you to notice that's getting a little thin there. And so I'm just gonna add a small little coil of clay right in here. And that way it can get to the correct thickness. All right, awesome artist. So then I wanna kind of dip my finger in here, smooth that out, get my seam smoothed out. And now because it is though, I have kind of some fun stuff to play with because it is still wet. I can think about like the shape a little bit. I do want mine to be fairly straight though still, but if you wanted to, now I can start kind of like thinking about like, oh, what if I wanted these kind of pinched a little and then pillowed out, kind of poofed, poof, poof. All right, why not, right? I actually kind of do like that, so that's happening. It's happening, friends. But I'm doing that after all my seams on the inside are smoothed up, okay? Later, I guess I am picking it up. Later, I'll have more work to do with smoothing some of my seams, but notice I don't have any seams on the bottom because I put them on the edge of my clay, except for right here. There. Okay, right in there. I do have a seam to smooth with a coil, which I'm gonna do later when it's had a little bit of time to dry. So like I said, I'm gonna get the shape that I want again. Pinch, poof, and there we go. Now I'm just gonna check, to see that this will still fit. And I'm noticing I'm gonna have to do some problem solving. I wasn't planning on pinching and poofing. So now I'm gonna think about how I can make the clay kind of waves that I wanted to go on here kind of help with the lid. I mean, I could add more to the lid too, or I could just not poof as much. I could keep it more like that with less poof too. Okay, so there's always fun problem solving to do. I'm gonna do, I don't know, I like problem solve. So it's happening. All right, there we go. All right, awesome artists. So now getting this back in the bag is gonna be a little different, especially because it's put together. You might not even have this much put together. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna clean up my area a little bit. Yes, it's messy. Okay, it's okay. And I'm just gonna put these in here to take to the sink. Roll up my extra clay. Okay. And I can put that in the extra clay bag. And now I'm gonna, might have to readjust this too when I take it out of the bag the next day. But now I'm gonna carefully set it in. Careful, careful, like. Okay, okay. And now I'm gonna put the lid in too. All right, I still want it to close. I'm not gonna put the lid on top because it's still that wet stage. So it's gonna make it sag. So I don't want it to sag right now. I want it to stay happy and healthy. I'll still put these in there, you know, just in case stuff breaks with clay. It happens. And so now I can seal this up. If yours doesn't fit in this bag, we'll try and make it work. We'll try and get one of our bigger bags to see what we can do. Okay, so now I'm gonna go like that. Now I'm gonna have to very, very carefully piece it up, okay? And there we go. There's the next step. All right, we'll catch you later, awesome artists. Bye.